Okay, so today we're looking at a PowerBook 550C. Behold its splendor. Well, let's go ahead and turn this thing on, shall we? It's got to be plugged in first. Hold on. Technical difficulty. I'm going to go ahead and drape the cord around there. There we go. Plugged in. Give it a sec. Ooh, listen to that chime. Uh-oh. What's that sound? Oh noes. What could it be? That, my friends, is the sound of a hard drive that is suffering from stiction. Specifically, it is an IBM DVAS-2810, the factory fit for the 550C. It is a nominally 750 megabyte hard drive, the largest you could get stock in a 500 series machine. And as you can see, it loads the raster. There's a little mouse pointer, but the hard drive is still making that lovely chirpy sound. You might think, oh noes, it's dead now and forever. But this is not the case. It can be resurrected, and we shall do just the thing. To do this, however, you are going to need a couple of tools. Actually, just the one. Specifically, you're going to need a Torx size 8-bit. You can either get one of those specifically, or a multi-tool will have one of these. Alright, well, since it's obviously not going to boot, you're going to pull power. And before we go any further, standard disclaimer sort of thing. Do this at your own risk. I'm not going to be responsible for breaking your computer or hurting yourself or the cat or burning your house down. Though if you burn your house down from doing this, I'd probably be pretty impressed. Hope you got farmers. They might put you in the commercial for doing that after they cancel your policy, I'm sure. Anyway, you should probably also take the batteries out for good measure. If they're not totally dead, which most of these probably are anyway. Set them aside, and for those of you wary of putting extra stress on the hinges, don't worry, because you can do this simply by turning the computer like that. There are a variety of screws on here, including a couple that are hidden underneath the flip-down feet. The only ones we are interested in are this one and this one. So, let's put your multi-tool in there. It's a little deep, so you're definitely going to need at least that much space or tool length to get at. Right, so unscrew the first one. Unscrew the second one. Alright, that should do. Then you are going to catch the screws. You might need to tap it a little bit. There's the first one. And there's the second one. Set the computer back down gently. And we're going to remove the keyboard. Now, there's really nowhere to grab on here, so you're going to have to use some kind of thumb action or hook a nail under here. Gently and lift. You don't want to use anything metal when you're doing that because you might hurt it. Alright, and then just flop the keyboard up like that, and here are your innards. So, for those unfamiliar, the floppy drive lives here. Now these are pretty much all Mitsubishi units. Let's see. Under this lovely heat shield is where the processor the RAM and the digital half of the modem, if so equipped, lives. And finally, to the left here is the hard drive that is causing us all of our problems. Now there's one more screw to release the hard drive. It is that one. You don't have to worry about these four. They're not essential to remove, and you'll see as I remove them. Right, so take your Torx 8-bit, unscrew. It's roughly the same length as the other two, so. Right, you'll notice there are two holes. That's where that bottom screw goes for the other keyboard. For the keyboard, the other one is right there. So, all right. So this you can kind of grab a little bit, and you can see how the drive moves. So what you're gonna do is, it helps if you have two hands for this, honestly. But lift and pull that back just slightly, a little bit, to get those prongs at the top free. Right, so the hard drive is mostly free, but you're not quite done yet. For best effect here, you need to remove the cable. So you're kind of going to hook a nail or something, again, non-metallic, not sharp, under the bits here. Right there, you can grab right there, and then again on the other side. Kind of work back and forth slowly to work this connector off of the drive. Be very careful. This cable is a flex type. It's pretty thin, and it's also at least 30 years old by now. So, well, pretty close to 30 years old, I guess. This was about 95. But yeah, it's fragile, and you're not going to be able to get another one except out of a scrap machine or maybe on eBay or something. Right. So, here's your hard drive, the DVAS 2810. 750 meg, 2.5, SCSI, etc. Right. So stiction is caused by the heads on the hard drive sticking to the platters. Now these motors, there's the bottom of the motor here, these motors don't have a ton of torque, primarily to preserve power. But because they don't have a ton of torque, it's hard for them to break, for the platters to break the stiction when it does occur. Normally that's not a huge deal, because if you use these at least once a month it doesn't happen, but you know, obviously these aren't daily drivers anymore. So it does occur. Also, this breather hole will admit moisture. So if you store these in a wet environment, moisture can enter these and it will cause a lot of corrosion, which can totally kill the drive. Quantum hard drives are pretty bad for that, actually, but they have a number of other problems. Anyway, that's for a different video, I suppose. Right, so what you're going to do to free the platters from the heads is put your thumb on one side and then your other fingers on the other. Make sure that they form a line between the along the axis of the motor here. Or that's not the axis, it's a mess. Right, make sure it's in the, you know, the plane, same plane there. That puts the platters right here in the circular area here for maximum effect. And what you're going to do is you're going to swish it back and forth like this, rapidly. Be firm. Do not let this thing go, or it is going to fly off, and it's probably going to hurt the drive or the cat. And again, I'm not responsible if you hurt either. Make sure to stop and reposition your hands if you need to do so. Probably don't want to do this after eating a bucket of chicken, because it's going to fly right on out. Right, so let's flip it around real good. Your forearm might get tired, that's okay. If you're lucky, you might be able to hear a small amount of friction that says the platters have been freed from the heads. But don't worry if you can't hear it. Just do this for however long you feel comfortable. Shouldn't be more than a minute or so. Anyway, should be okay now. So what we're going to do is reinstall the hard drive. So you're going to take your connector here and align it with the bottom of the drive. It's not too hard, but make sure that, hold on, you get it on straight. You do not want to have pins that are crooked, or you're offside one side or the other. There should be a notch. You can see the notch. Where's the thing? I have to zoom back out here. Hold on. Right, you can see where this missing pin is on here. There's also a corresponding blank spot on the cable here. So basically you just line those up and it should slide right on. So again, the tall part goes to the tall part of the drive here. And come here, you. Again, be careful, do not put a lot of stress on this cable or you will rip it and you'll be very sad. Right. And again, if it just rocks like this, you're probably off center a little bit. So just move the cable down a little bit. And it's still rocking. Move it down another set of pins, and there it goes. Firmly press on the back side of the pins there, making sure you can't see any of the gold contacts. Now this is another tricky part here. See these bits here? They have corresponding notches in the top of the computer. You can see them right there. 3 little notches. What you need to do is take the drive. Again, super careful with the cable. So just kind of put it about like that. Again, it's really a lot easier if you have 2 hands, so you can kind of lift the keyboard, but freehanding this in the interest of speed. Anyway, the little notches are curved a little bit. You can kind of see where they will start to engage. Again, don't force it. It's just going to slip right on in. Real easy like. Eventually, hold on. There it goes. Right, so make sure that's in there and it's leveraged. Let it go down. It should slide back and forth a smidge. And you're going to reinstall that screw from earlier. Now, it goes in the right hole here. Don't worry if you put it in the left one though, it's not threaded, it's not going to break anything. You just have to, if you put it in over here, yeah, like that, it's just going to fall down. Just lift the drive up and the screw will come up. And you just grab it and put it in the right hole, like that. And then you screw it back down. This is also a good opportunity to install RAM if you really want to, but we're not going to go into that here. So, we're just going to go ahead and test our handiwork without reapplying the bottom screws. But the keyboard's the same deal as the hard drive. It's got these notches in the top with corresponding notches in the top of the computer there. So you just kind of got to fiddle with it briefly until the notches engage. Keyboard flops down. There's a couple of pegs, peg, that correspond to holes in the bottom there. So if it sits up weird, just kind of squish it around a little bit, making sure that the pegs go where they're supposed to. Alright, so since we've got that hard drive back in place, go ahead, you don't have to put the batteries in right now. We can wait until we screw the keyboard back down. Alright, so apply power, power on. And listen to that. The hard drive is now spinning. This has the full complement of RAM, so it takes a minute to fully test it and load the raster and begin booting. So we'll just give it a sec here. There we go, and there she goes. Ta-da! Ah, the sound of the mid-90s. Pretty great. And again, it will continue to perform like this, i.e. not having to be disassembled on a daily basis, if you use it at least once a month. If you start putting it away in the closet for long periods of time, you're going to have to repeat this procedure. Totally forgot, we're not done. So, shut down. Again, you don't have to worry about closing the screen or anything. We can just flip it over. However, now you will have to put a hand here on the inside to hold the keyboard in place. Otherwise it'll flop out and be a big old mess. Right, so to get these screws back in, you have to just pop them back in. You have to keep pressure on the top of the keyboard. It doesn't need to be like He-Man Hulk strength up here. Just enough to keep the keyboard, down. And then you have to get the driver bit onto the screw. The screw will find its home. And then you just screw it in. Lightly tighten. This doesn't have to be hulked down. It's going into some plastic. So if you over tighten it, this plastic is pretty brittle after so many years. So you might break it, and that's not a good prize. So again with the bottom, just give it a reach around. You can see a little bit of play there with the screw. So you need to keep the keyboard held down a little bit until you've got it screwed in. Okay, now we're done. More or less. So, computer upright. And the batteries if you got them. And there is your working 550C. Or 540. This works on pretty much any, 500 series. And the rotation part works on any hard drive, including full-size drives like this Quantum Pro Drive LPS. Just thumb, fingers, either side of the along the same plane. Flip it rapidly back and forth. You may eventually hear a movement in there as you vibrate it or rotate it, which is good. But yeah, now we're done. Okay, cool. Goodbye.